Okay, Sony has just had their 2014 Gamescom press conference, so let's talk about it. Sorry this video is a little bit late. It's actually about a day late, because Sony's conference was yesterday, but I had a lot of personal stuff to take care of yesterday. I've been really busy lately. That's also why I haven't been commenting back to you guys as I often do, so give me a little bit of time and I'll get back to all you and stuff. Anyway, let's get right into it. So if you haven't known already, when Sony does E3 or Gamescom or TGS or whatever, we cover it. I'll recap the whole event, and then you'll get my impressions. So if you already know what happened during the event, you can skip the recap portion, and I'll put it, a timestamp somewhere of where the impressions start. But right now, let's get into the recap of the event. So here's everything that happened during Sony's press conference. So to kick off Sony's Gamescom conference for 2014, the show opened with a sizzle reel of games. Sony often always does this, showing a bunch of trailers. Jim Ryan takes the stage. Sony Computer Entertainment Europe president and CEO announces 10 million PlayStation 4s have been sold. Now Sony's been hovering around the 9 million number for a while, so they have just hit 10 million sold to consumers. Dylan Cuthbert takes the stage to announce The Tomorrow Children, a new PlayStation 4 exclusive. And then there's a trailer for The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, I guess it's called. And then Mike Bithell takes the stage to announce that Volume is going to be coming out first on PS4 and Vita. Then there is a trailer for Hollow Point. Then we move on to DayZ being announced for the PlayStation 4. DayZ, that Arma 2 mod coming to the PlayStation 4. Which has now been made standalone on PC and everything, but yeah, DayZ's coming to PS4, so that's cool. Ninja Theory is up next, announces Hellblade coming first to PlayStation 4. Then we see a trailer for Rime looking gorgeous as always. Then we move on to an indie showcase. Sony, they love them indies. They're supporting the hell out of them, and of course they're going to get some showtime here, showing a whole bunch of games that are going to be making their console debut on PlayStation 4. Next up is Destiny. We all know Sony has had a huge partnership with Activision and Bungie, and Destiny, of course, announcing a lot of the stuff I think we've already known about Destiny and, the kind of relationship they've been having with Sony, a lot of exclusive maps, exclusive planets, kind of stuff we already knew. Far Cry 4 is up next on the stage to kind of detail a little bit about how a player owning the game can actually let somebody else who doesn't own the game play with you. So you get 10 keys to give to other PSN friends, and apparently they can play with you up to 2 hours. That's, of course, meaning they don't own the game, so you can give it to 10 people and they can play with you for up to 2 hours. Moving on, there's a trailer for Shadow of Mordor. That game's looking pretty weird and sick and awesome, kind of, yeah. Hideo Kojima takes the stage to show off a lot of cool, interesting new ways you can use the box in Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. A lot of interesting stuff there. You can trick troops by looking like a sexy, beautiful woman, but man, those troops are pretty much brain dead. Sony then announced PT, available right now on the PlayStation Store for PlayStation 4. So right then and there, Sony announces a new game on the PlayStation Store, free to download. And if you're wondering already what this actually is, it is a playable trial / kind of first look at Silent Hill. A Silent Hill game being made in conjunction with Hideo Kojima, and Norman Reedus is actually going to be in this game. So they're using his voice and his likeliness for Silent Hill, but that's what PT is, kind of a first look into Silent Hill, a new Silent Hill. Sony then details firmware 2.0 for the PlayStation 4, so there's new ways to find friends using their real names and IDs. Direct YouTube uploading is going to be in 2.0, and more importantly, the Share Play feature has been announced for firmware 2.0. Now, what this feature is basically a way to allow you to share games with people that you're not, locally around with. Much like playing a game locally with a friend, you can now So now, say you have somebody living, in Australia or wherever, they don't live with you, right? You're playing online, and you can pass off control of the video game to them, even though they don't own the game, so you can kind of share it in that manner. Or you can play co-op together, and again, you've got one person that's the game owner, and you've got another person that doesn't actually own the title. You are sharing these games with each other. I'm sure there's a lot of restrictions and technicalities to that, but nonetheless, that is extremely interesting, and you know, we want to hear more about that. You do need to be a PlayStation Plus member to take advantage of this upcoming feature. Moving on, they talk about PlayStation Now coming to Europe in 2015, and UK is likely to get the beta first. So Europe, you now have a very rough time frame of when you're going to be getting PlayStation Now. PlayStation TV is going to be launching October 14th in North America, November 14th in PAL territories, and it comes with 3 digital games, 3 free digital games. We don't know what games they are. Moving on, Until Dawn has been officially re-revealed for the PlayStation 4, coming in 2015. They show a trailer, still looks pretty, I don't know, rough around the edges, looks very much so still kind of like, you know, a PlayStation 3 game. Looks kind of cheesy to me, but hey, there's Until Dawn. We'll reserve our judgment until the game's actually out and, you know, we see more of it and everything. Drive Club is up next, just showing off some trailers, some cool weather mechanics, everything. The game looks gorgeous. Another out of left field announcement. Tearaway is coming to PlayStation 4. It's called Tearaway Unfolded. Makes a lot of drastic changes to the core game to obviously make it work on PlayStation 4, because you're missing a lot of things like a front-facing camera and back touchpad, front touch screen. There's going to be some things that can correlate well, like the DualShock 4's light bar and the front touchpad, but it is going to be a retooled version of Tearaway. Housemarque is up next. Housemarque announces Alien Nation, looking like another top-down twin-stick shooter. Aliens and shooting and all that great stuff about a twin-stick shooter. And then Sony closes the show with Wild, a new PlayStation 4 exclusive, which looks very interesting. You're just straight up in the wild, man, with them lions and tigers, and you're looking like some sort of barbaric dude, just living it out there, man, just having fun, doing whatever. So that's about it for Sony's 2014 Gamescom press conference. Okay, so impressions. Well, let me preface this by saying, and we've said this in the past, you know, with these conferences, people always want to, you know, talk about who won, who did better. I think Sony did great. I think Sony did bad. It's all about what conference spoke more to you, you know, what company showed you the things you like and what company showed you the things you didn't care for, and therefore you didn't like the conference. So it's all opinion, and that's the point of this impressions video, is my impression of the show. Honestly, I think it was a slightly underwhelming, if not, you know, not underwhelming, but serviceable for a show. You know, it's, yeah, like nothing major came out of this show, I'd say. But, again, it's serviceable. You've got some decent surprises here, and you've got a couple of them that are actually kind of pushing the envelope, which I'll get to in a second. But, you know, especially, it's a serviceable show for 2014 because, you know, as we learned from E3 last year, all companies like, you know, EA, Ubisoft, Sony, Microsoft didn't have a whole lot to show this year at E3, and the same thing kind of goes for Gamescom. 2015 and 16 is when you're really going to start to see more. That's when we've had, you know, 2 years into the life cycle, or I mean a year and a half to 2 years into the life cycle, where Sony's developers have had time to actually develop games. EA's finally, you know, wrapping up some projects. Ubisoft, the same thing. You know, you might see actual PS4 and X1 games, and that's it. No PS3, 360 titles or cross-gen titles. So I thought it was a good show I thought it was a serviceable show for 2014. So you've got your standard stuff in there, you know, a lot of the third-party stuff. You got all the indie showcase. We know Sony loves indies. Of course they're here. Sony's partnership with Destiny, of course it's here. Far Cry 4, we're seeing more of it. Game looks great, but, you know, it's something we've already seen before. We, you know, should expect it here. You know, Drive Club's here. Of course, we're going to see Drive Club. It was nice to hear 10 million PS4 sold. We know Sony's doing really well in terms of actually selling PlayStation 4s. That's good news for them. But, you know, you do have some decent surprises in here. DayZ coming to PlayStation 4. That's cool. I'm on board. Why not? Certainly if it's done right, because the game's certainly not even finished for PC, but, you know, we'll see how that works out. It's nice to see that reintroduction to Until Dawn on PlayStation 4, but as I mentioned in the recap, kind of looks, you know, cheesy to me, but, you know, I will personally reserve judgment until we see more of the game and I actually get to play it. But right now, I'm not super hot on it just yet. Tearaway coming to PlayStation 4. Hey, People are actually upset about this one because Vita is losing an exclusive, but, you know, in all honesty, you know, why is that something to complain about? Sony's a business, and we all know their practices as a business. They have PS3, PS4, and Vita right now. There's 3 PlayStation platforms. They constantly port games in between all of these platforms. If one's on PS3, it might end up on 4 or Vita. If one's on Vita, it might end up on 4 and 3. If one's on PS4, it might get ported to Vita. Sony does that, and, you know, Tearaway's kind of out of left field because it was a really, like, heavily built Vita game from the ground up, but it's not surprising that they moved it over to a machine that's selling really well. And quite frankly, it's not going to diminish the value of Tearaway on Vita. The game still exists on Vita, it still plays the way it does. You know, Vita doesn't sell well for a number of reasons. It's not like Tearaway being not exclusive is going to make people buy less Vitas. Chances are, if somebody wasn't going to buy a Vita for Tearaway, Killzone, Little Big Planet, and all the great indies on the machine, then they were never going to buy it to begin with. So it's fine that it's coming to PS4. In terms of actual, you know, Vita in general for this show, I mean, a lot of PlayStation Vita fans really upset because there's, you know, Vita was hardly existing at all, and it's kind of the same thing I told you guys with you know, the lack of Vita at E3. It's, you know, business is business, man, and as I've said a billion times already about the Vita topic, I always repeat myself on this topic. You know, Sony's done what they can with the machine. They've made AAA games for it. They've lost money on those AAA games trying to make those AAA games. Third-party developers don't want to jump on the platform, and Sony has courted developers the best they could. They funded Borderlands 2 on the machine. They probably didn't make money on the game, I would assume. I would assume they didn't make money on any of the AAA games they released for it. People aren't buying it. They dropped the price. You know, the memory cards are still pricey, but they're doing what they can with the machine, you know. And it's not like Sony's saying F you Vita owners. They still put these games on the show floor. Granted, they don't get stage time, but there's always Vita games on the E3 show floor. They're at the Gamescom show floor right now. Sony is manufacturing the system. It's still on store shelves. They're still letting people make games for it. If Sony wanted to kill the device, they would already. But people are so quick to say, like, oh, this multi-billion-dollar corporation isn't supporting their own machine. Trust me, they are. I mean, you see what I'm driving at. It's the same thing I've said over and over and over again regarding the Vita topic. I think one really great thing out of the show was firmware 2.0 for sure. The share play feature, very, very interesting. I mean, PS4 often gets a lot of criticism for being, you know, people say it's a great console, but it's a safe console. It's strictly a video game machine, and that's fine. That's why we buy video game machines. But a lot of people do want to see, you know, features kind of pushing the envelope, right? We want to see something a little bit different, and SharePlay certainly sounds like that might be, you know, the right direction of where Sony wants to go. You know, it's not, you know, it's a video game machine. Great that it plays video games, but again, it's nice to see Sony really expand their horizon and try to offer new ways to kind of play games. Not to sound like super cliche about it, but you see the point I'm driving at. They're trying something new. That's pretty much it of what I think of Sony's show right now. Again, serviceable show, especially for 2014. We'll definitely see some better stuff come 2015 and especially 2016. Overall, serviceable. But now let's get to the big elephant in the room here, because the one big bombshell during Gamescom was actually at Microsoft's show. They did have a bombshell, and that was that they have secured exclusivity for Rise of the Tomb Raider. And clearly, we do have to talk about this. Granted, it's Microsoft's show, but come on, we do have to talk about this. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Microsoft announced that Rise of the Tomb Raider will be exclusive to Xbox One, presumably Xbox 360. Now, the big talking point, I'm sure a lot of you have already read and have your own opinions on the topic at hand, but is the game possibly a timed exclusive? Phil Spencer has touched on this topic, Crystal Dynamics has touched on this topic, and I mean, okay, so what I'll get down to it is, yes, I do think this is a timed exclusive. And there's a lot of proof in the pudding here. Now, I'm going to stay very humble on this topic, because I remember with the whole Titanfall debacle, I was pretty confident in saying, like, that game was, yeah, like, totally that game is timed exclusive. And to my defense, I was still technically right at the time I said it, because during the Titanfall debacle, the game was going to come to PS4 until, you know, Microsoft and EA finally, like, signed the final deal, and then they came out and said it's exclusive, lifetime exclusive. Could that be the case with Rise of the Tomb Raider? That's certainly possible. So again, I will stay humble in my opinion here, but yes, I do think it's a timed exclusive. Reason being why I think it's a timed exclusive, well, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Again, this video is kind of like a day old from the actual news that broke. I'm sure you people have read it by now, but it's all about the wording, right? And this is exactly what happened with the Titanfall thing. Nobody would say Titanfall was exclusive until it was like official, because they didn't know if it was exclusive. And the same thing is kind of happening here. Phil Spencer is only saying that the game is exclusive on Xbox in holiday 2015. That is the exact wording they are using, and that's exactly what Crystal Dynamics is also saying. The game is exclusive on Xbox in 2015. Now, a lot of people, you know, look at that and say, okay, Ryan, well, that's it. It is exclusive. You guys got to understand, this industry operates, and it operates in a certain way. It's all about the wording. It's all about the body language. It's all about the actual words being used. That is literally how they do these things. I mean, it's because that they'll only say it that way, that instantly tells you that there's some sort of agreement there, that of why they have to say it the way it is. If the game was a lifetime exclusive, they would tell you. But they won't tell you. They have to specifically use those wordings because that is probably what's on the cards right now in between Microsoft and Square Enix. Now, besides the wording, which again is pretty damn good evidence, but the other evidence is, I mean, it just all adds up and makes sense. Especially after the Titanfall debacle. I mean, Microsoft paid a lot of money to keep Titanfall off PlayStation, and we all know that it actually worked out in the wrong for EA. EA took the wrong choice there. They would have made tons of more money had they released the game on PS3 and PlayStation 4. They made the wrong choice. They gambled and they lost on that. And it's the exact same thing here, especially with Square Enix. This is Square Enix we're talking about. There's just... And again, I'm going to sound cocky saying this, but there's just no way in hell Square Enix would seal away complete lifetime exclusivity to Rise of the Tomb Raider. Especially when this is a reboot of the franchise, you know, this is something that they really want to take on seriously. Especially since the first Tomb Raider did so well. I mean, granted, at first it actually didn't meet sales expectations after selling like 6 million copies, but it did end up making a profit, and 6 million copies is still a lot of copies that the game sold. You know, it's a pretty big investment on their end. It's not something they can really gamble with there. And to make the game a lifetime exclusivity on the lowest selling platform, I mean, come on, it's all in the pudding. I shouldn't have to explain to you why this game is clearly more or less a timed exclusive, especially on top of the wording. They just wouldn't do that. Again, also with looking at the whole EA debacle, I mean, Square Enix can stand by, and they saw what happened, you know. Now, Microsoft does love to front that money. That's exactly what happens, you know. I mean, you'll see the blog post on Crystal Dynamics' website explaining why the game is only on Xbox One. And, you know, they have to use the standard PR stuff, like, you know, Microsoft supported our vision for the game, and we fully believe that, you know, Microsoft and, you know, they're a great partner. And, I mean, you know, they can't just straight out tell you, like, yes, we were offered a lot of money. They can't say that, but that is what happened. And Microsoft does love to do that. So, I mean, that is what happened, but it's just, you know, I can't imagine that Square Enix would accept that offer, and I can't imagine that Microsoft would offer enough money to make it completely exclusive, because sure enough, tons of conversations have happened between these two companies without you and me knowing about it. I'm sure Microsoft approached them and said, hey, we want it exclusive, 100%. Square Enix said, what are you offering? Microsoft put out numbers. Square Enix said, no, not for those numbers. So, you know, maybe it was worked out to, okay, well, how about this number, and then a year exclusivity or 6 months exclusivity, and then, you know, Square Enix agrees, and then Microsoft, you know, lays out some ground rules, like, okay, this is how we're going to refer to it to the media and everything. We're not going to tell people that it will come to other platforms later. That's how these situations all work out. And of course, we don't know until, you know, 6 months to a year from now when we actually do find out if the game does come to PS4 and PC, right? That was the Titanfall situation. We didn't know until we found out, and we found out that it was a lifetime exclusive. But I'm putting my eggs in the basket of yes, it is a timed exclusive. But I'll certainly stay humble on this one. I could be wrong, I think it's a timed exclusive. That's just how these things work out, and that's why you're hearing the wording. I mean, don't just believe the wording up front, like, well, IGN said it's this, or, oh no, Ryan, Crystal Dynamics said it's exclusive. Like, of course they're going to say that, because Microsoft wants them to say that. They don't want you to know that it'll come to PS4 eventually. They don't want you to know that if you wait a little bit longer, you can get it on PC. Clearly, they don't want you to know that. So yes, to end it off, timed exclusive, I think. But we'll see. Alright, that's about it for my 2014 Gamescom Sony press conference recap and impressions. Wow, that was a mouthful. Please, what did you guys think? I'm sure some people are happy with it, some people are not happy with it. Some people are super pissed about the Tomb Raider thing, and that's certainly just justifiable. Let me know what you think about that as well. I'll try and get to you guys in the comments. I've definitely been slacking on that. I apologize. I have been super busy with a lot of personal issues and stuff going on lately. Which, you know, I'm not going to fill you in on that, but I will let you know. Not trying to make excuses, but just kind of, you know, I want to fill you in a little bit. Not all the way, but a little bit. And I'll get back to you guys. I'll never forget you. Never. Because doing this YouTube channel is a damn good highlight of my life. Let me tell you, I really enjoy it. Anyway, that's about it for this video. No Ryan on gaming this week because we did Gamescom. And that's a good long video because it's probably like 20 minutes long now already because I've been talking so long. So I'll see you this Friday for Let's Talk PlayStation to cover up any Gamescom details we missed. There's a couple of other news stories going around, like Minecraft PS4 is almost ready, but we'll talk about that on LTPS, but we really don't need to because I just mentioned it now. Alright, that's it. I'm leaving. I'll see you guys Friday.